Welcome to the Mind Solve podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jonathan. The topic of this episode is the Mindful Triad. This is about developing a healthy, sustainable, and mindful practice that includes consistently balanced nutrition, regular exercise movement, and daily meditation. The Mindful Triad is the human compass you use on your journey of reduced work-life stress. So in this episode, I will cover relevant evidence-based information on each of these elements of the Mindful Triad, starting with nutrition, followed by exercise movement, and ending with meditation. My intention is to speak directly to you with the goal of helping you pay attention to your specific unique human needs as it pertains to all three elements. So this brings me to a very important quote I want to start with from the late great psychologist and pioneer, Carl Jung. Every individual is an exception to the rule. Your mind and body are best served by designing a mindful practice specifically tailored to you, not a one-size-fits-all approach. So I want you to be a little selfish here as we get into this, to be thinking only about yourself, about taking great self-care of you. So let's define this with some opening thoughts. Let's define what mindful triad means. First, mindful nutrition. It's about paying attention with a focus on eating nutritious food and drinking water for energy and mind-body function, while avoiding extreme dieting, safeguarding against emotional eating in the form of food restrictions as a punishment, or overindulgence of food as a reward as it relates to dealing with stress in your life. Mindful exercise is about gratitude and trust in your body and its ability to function, to move, and experience sensations. It's not about extreme exercise regimens or body self-shaming to meet unrealistic standards of unsustainable physiques. It's all about helping your body develop the ability to deal with stress release and stress reduction and build stress resilience. And mindful meditation is about developing a greater patience from moment to moment, cultivating acceptance of your thoughts, enhancing your ability to adapt to changes. This particular form of meditation, however, is secular in nature. It's all inclusive. It's not limited by a particular religion or cultural background. It is a scientific, proven approach to expand your mind, to increase your window of tolerance to cope with stress in your life. That is the mindful triad. So let's start with some of the relevant evidence-based information. Looking at mindful nutrition first. According to some of the research collaboration with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, also known as NASM, here are some of the awareness factors that came up about how people are challenged with barriers to eating healthy, nutritious, balanced meals. The three that were listed as top are the following. Number one is the social norms and values related to lifestyle. If a person's living a fast-paced lifestyle, they're probably eating food on the move, fast food, packaged food, processed food to move quickly. Pretty simple, straightforward. Number two, behavioral settings. That can include work, school, or at home. Depending on the setting and environment, that can influence how you go about consuming your food and making consumption choices. So if you're working long hours and you're staying at work and you're ordering food in, chances are you're not controlling what your food is other than the menu that's available to you to order in or go out to dine. If you're at school, you might be dependent upon what's available at your school location. If you're at home, you have a better opportunity to prepare your meals and to know what you're going to consume from meal to meal. So those are some of the factors that influence how we consume food as challenges that can come to play in our overall process of having a mindful, nutritious balance. Furthermore, we now have an abundance of availability of food that we didn't have 50 years ago. Case in point, we now have Uber Eats or delivery of food. We have 24 dining options available to go in and sit down and dine at restaurants, prepared meal services that can deliver food to your home, prepackaged processed foods that are available at vending stations or machines, and tons of fast food options. Some healthier than others, but lots of fast food options. And what the research revealed is that because of the abundance of food available, the average caloric intake per person is now between as high as 2,800 to 3,000 calories per day. For working professionals who are eating most of their meals out dining, that caloric intake is even higher, sometimes double or above 5,000 calories per day. So why is this relevant? Why is this relevant evidence? Because how we go about getting our food, how we go about accessing food and the abundance of food does have an impact on whether or not we're taking in nutritious food that's helping our bodies build up the energy and resources to deal with work-life stress and to maintain a healthy overall being. Let's face it, the stress of a day-to-day family, work, and social responsibilities keeps many of us running on full speed, causing us to eat our food in transition, sometimes while working at our desk, sitting in traffic in our car, standing up ready to make the next action, the next move of task or errands. So as I talk about those examples, take this moment right now without judging yourself. Do you ever find yourself in any of these stressful eating predicaments? How often in each day, week, or month are you eating your food without paying mindful attention? Check in with yourself today. Ask yourself that question and answer for yourself honestly, without judgment, because it happens. So now that we've talked a little bit about how we go about consuming food and what impacts that and how stress in our life contributes to our eating behavior, let's get into some information about stress eating behavior impact. And let's make a distinction here. There's stress eating that comes in the form of psychological, emotional eating, where we're eating by virtue of pleasure or eating to cover pain, to self-medicate because of stress. That's a behavior that is often a challenge for us in the workplace or when we're dealing with a lot of workplace stress or stress in our life. When our body truly needs the physiological eating that fulfills us based upon our hunger, our body telling us that we need energy. That's a mindful, nutritional, balanced way of going about consuming food for energy. And what happens is that when we start to eat for emotional and psychological reasons to try to overcome our stressors that are beyond our window of tolerance, it does harm to our brain. This is how it happens. That emotional eating starts to disrupt the chemical reward signal in the brain. It causes an overreaction of dopamine, a neurotransmitter in our brain that gives us joy, fulfillment, reward. And it puts us on a harsh cycle of using food as a solution to stress when it's really not a sustainable way for stress relief. Food is for energy, for nutrition value to our bodies, not as a form of medication that sometimes falls into the trapping of emotional eating. And then we find that this behavior leads to the cycle of self judgment, which is not mindful, which sounds something like this cycle: eating high energy foods to fulfill the emotional pain and stress, to get that dopamine euphoria hit, to relieve the stress, stressful work schedule, stressful first part of your day. You have a very high energy lunch with sugary, high content foods. And then over time, that energy gets stored in the form of body additional weight and gain. That creates potential emotional distress, more stress, guilt, self-judgment, and social body shaming. Start to become worried about how you look physically, which can lead to an overreaction of going to an extreme behavior of dieting in a way that is even more stressful by restricting the caloric intake to a point where it's not sustainable. That does damage to the mood. It causes mood dysregulation. And it also causes a dysfunction of the body's operating system at full capacity because the caloric deficit might be far too much for your body to handle. And the body is going to do what it needs to do to survive. So typically it's a boomerang effect, going back to the high energy meals, back to the yo-yo effect of weight loss and weight gain. And it's not sustainable. It's not healthy. It actually adds more stress to your life. If you've experienced this behavioral pattern, you can relate. Or if you've observed or seen someone you care about experience it, you can see the damaging effects of how it creates more stress. So take a moment to think about, there is a way to be more self-compassionate and aware and mindful, to take in mindful nutrition without causing this kind of harm. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So now that we've discussed the stress behavior impact, let's talk about some basic and fundamental science around nutrition, balanced nutrition, without getting too scientific, but let's get to some important points that is going to be valuable for you to take note of today. So first and foremost, we consume food as human beings because we need food and water intake as an essential part of operating our bodies and our minds. Food provides us energy to be healthy, to have a full functioning system. Water provides us hydration. These are very basic, simple scientific facts. Within that food, it comes in the form of caloric intake. And calories break down into three major macronutrients, with a lot of micronutrients as well. But macronutrients are the three major macronutrients. Let's simplify what those macronutrients are. We have fats, carbohydrates, and protein. And what is a macronutrient? A macronutrient is a chemical element that is essential to the growth and health of a living organism. We need all three. There's no such thing as carbs are bad, fat are bad, or protein is bad. They're all necessary for our human bodies to function. We need all three. A deprivation of one beyond our body needs is not sustainable as well. So this carb cutting or extreme fat cutting is not a healthy approach. So we're going to dispel those myths. Now let's simplify what they do for our bodies. Fats provide the human body with fatty acids as a prime source of energy that can be used to burn or stored for later use. And it contributes to the body regulation, hormonal balance, mood, in the brain, the mind. Fat is good for you. Dispel the myths. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates have gotten a bad name, but they're our preferred source of energy that can be quickly processed and converted into energy to be used to fuel our activities, our body movement, our brain processing function. We need carbohydrates. Very important source of energy. Protein is my favorite, and this is why. Protein, although can be converted to a form of energy, is not the primary source of converted energy. Protein does a lot of things for us that it doesn't get credit for or notice for. So let me tell you what those are. Protein made up of amino acids provide our bodies a contribution towards our structural muscular skeleton structure formation, functional purposes such as muscle development, repair, recovery, helps our bone density, and production of neurotransmitters in our brain. So, protein is really a brain fuel as well for the body and the mind. We need our protein. So, note something interesting to pay attention to. The next time you consume a product, a food product, or look at a nutrition fact label, you'll note that all nutrition fact labels are pretty consistent in listing first the fats, the carbohydrates, and then the protein. And in the listing, they provide you with a gram contribution of how much is in a serving for that particular food based upon also a daily value of allowances to a 2,000 calorie diet per day. So when you look at those labels, I want you to be mindful for yourself to know, what are you intaking when you consume your food? What are you getting in value of fat grams, carbohydrate grams, and protein grams in each one of those servings of food? Pay attention to what you're consuming to fuel your mind, to fuel your body as a mindful, nutritious practice. It matters. Now, although these packages typically list a 2,000 calories per day diet, that's not suitable for all people, particularly for athletes. They'll tell you that many athletes have to consume a larger amount of calories per day to maintain their bodies and mind to perform in high performing sports. Some need less than 2,000, some need closer to 2,000. It's again back to that quote, every individual is the exception to the rule. You need to take care of your body and your mind specifically. But the information does help you understand what you're getting in energy and source to your body. So this is something I want you to start taking note of today. You can start doing this today. All right. So let's get into some of the solutions. This is always the fun part for me. MindSolve is all about giving you solutions. So there's 5 here that I'd like for you to take note of right now that you can apply towards your mindful nutrition balance to reduce stress in your life and to build stress resiliency and resistance to stress that may be disruptive to your life. First, if you haven't done this year or you don't do this regularly, consult with your licensed medical doctor, nutritionist, or dietitian at least once every year to discuss your specific nutrition needs to maintain a healthy mind and body. Now, this is a little different than maybe you've done in the past. Some of you have done this, but maybe you haven't done it lately. When you meet with your licensed medical professional, nutritionist, or dietitian, talk specifically about determining what your unique body needs in calories per day and macronutrient allocations by percentage. A standard percentage of allocation has been recommended 15 to 20% of your grams as fat, 45 to 50% of your grams as carbohydrates, and 35 to 40% of your grams as protein, depending upon your body energy and activity requirements. Have that conversation with your medical and licensed practitioner who gives you guidance on your nutrition. They can do blood work, they can do tests and exams that they're licensed and trained to do to help you make an informed, mindful nutrition daily decision about how you consume your food. That's number 1. Number 2, mindfully eat your food at the appropriate portion sizes so that when you get your meals, you can account for your macronutrients. Make sure you're getting what your body needs in carbohydrates, fats, and protein. Don't buy into these myths about carb elimination. Your body needs the carbs as well as the fat and the protein. And when you do this, journal it. There are many digital applications, there's softwares, there's spreadsheets, there's different ways you can do it on a journal. If you want to, with pen and paper, it doesn't matter as long as it works for you. but start to keep a daily meal by meal journaling of your nutrition intake and check in with how you're feeling when you finish that meal or snack to know that you're getting the energy that your mind and body needs, which helps you reduce stress and build stress resiliency. Mindfully eating your food is number 3. Okay. So when you're having your meals or snacks, it's ideal and mindful to sit down and enjoy it using all your senses, your smell, your taste, your sight, allowing your brain to interact in that process and enjoy the food. Food is for energy and can also be enjoyed as a fulfilling way to energize your body. Eating should never be about restriction and punishment, and it should not be a major reward. It's part of taking care of your human system. Number 4 or 5, this is very simple. Eat slowly. Notice the feeling, the satisfaction of enjoying your food and checking in with your body. When you're done with your meal, take a moment to pause. Check in with yourself to see how your energy level has changed, how your mood has changed. Notice if you're still feeling stressed or not. Notice if you have the energy to go out and do the work or the activity or the fun that you have planned for the rest of your day. And number 5, this is my favorite of all favorites. Drink your water throughout your day to stay hydrated, especially during rigorous physical activities. Here's the target that I'm offering you: 128 ounces of water per day, which amounts to 1 gallon, which exceeds 3.7 liters of water that's recommended for a man's body. And it also exceeds 2.7 liters recommended for a woman's body. Water is essential to having a mindful, balanced nutrition, maintenance to your mind and body to counter stress. All right. So we've covered mindful nutrition pretty well. Let's transition and get into some of the relevant evidence-based information about exercise and how that comes to play. So looking at some of the research that we have from the National Academy of Sports Medicine in collaboration with their researchers, here are several reasons that they had listed as barriers to starting exercising. And we know from the sciences that exercise is a major way to counter stress in your work-life integration. But here's some of the barriers, and I want you to pay close attention and take note if any of these apply to you specifically. Number 1, busy lifestyles with family responsibilities. You've got full-time work at home or full-time work outside of home, or you maybe have 2 different work vocations, and you have people you care for. It could be children, elder adults, dependent adults. You're running around trying to take care of your family with all these responsibilities, and you're trying to figure out, when am I going to find the time and space to have any kind of exercise? That's a challenge. Number 2, overwhelmed by work obligations and social commitments. You may be working in a profession that requires you to work long hours, to travel, or causes you to have to go out to events after work, to network, to fundraise, to interact with a lot of people. And you're finding that you don't have time in your day, it seems, or flexibility in your schedule to get away for exercise. Number 3, this one's a little tougher. Physical health limitations or illnesses that make you less flexible in your ability to exercise and get movement. Always consult with your medical doctor. Maybe for you in that situation, it might mean you're doing something very low impact, moderate to low, walking or swimming, or something that's more related to some more beginner yoga movements that may not harm your body physically. Always take good care of your body and honor your body. Number 4, this is a really heartbreaking one. Perception barriers about exercise. The common thought is exercise is not for me because I don't look like the people who go to the gym. I don't have the physique or the shape that looks like someone who should be exercising. Or I just don't know how to use the equipment. I'm afraid to go into a gym because I don't know how to orient myself around the gym, what equipment to use, how to use the resources. Please ask for help. Reach out to a friend. We have lots of great professional certified personal trainers who are eager to bring and invite you into their facilities or their spaces to help you learn to overcome those perception barriers. Exercises for everyone at their own level. Number 5, unrealistic goals. Think about, have you set this to yourself before? I'm going to lose some amazing amount of weight in a short amount of time. 50 to 100 pounds in the next 90 days for my big vacation. That kind of mindset immediately sets a barrier that it's unrealistic and is probably not going to even start as an exercise program, or I'm going to quit after the first few days or the week, because if I don't see the weight scale go down significantly, start judging yourself, start limiting yourself, and that's not fair. The weight scale is one of many measures you can use to determine how your exercise is changing and reshaping and enhancing your body. But mindful exercise and movement is not about measuring yourself on a scale. It's not about judging yourself and devaluing yourself based upon your body weight. It's about helping your body celebrate its ability to move, to function, to strengthen your body, and to celebrate your body. Your body is a beautiful system. It deserves the respect and honor and trust that it was built for. All right. Number 6, lack of support from family and friends. Maybe you have family and friends who just are not active, don't like to exercise, don't like to do movement activities. That's okay. There's no need to judge them, but you do have to take responsibility for yourself, right? This is your body. You only get one in each lifetime. And the final one, which is the biggest barrier, time and place to exercise, which connects to all of these. Finding the ability to commit to a time that works for you in your schedule and a location or a space where you can have sustainable, ongoing, healthy exercise and movement. Now, regardless of the barriers, it's vital to review for yourself right now your own mind body awareness and readiness to exercise or add activities to your life. If you're already exercising and you're already moving, great. Keep going. Keep doing it consistently. Celebrate your body. Energize your body. This is a great element of the triad, the mindful triad, to help you counter stress, gain stress relief, and build stress resiliency in your life. If you're not, start with consulting with your licensed medical doctor first to make sure you're taking care of yourself, to be safe. All right. So let's continue on with some of the basic science of exercise focus. Now, this is really important information, and I want you to take note of it in terms of thinking about honoring your body as a living system, not as a trophy or a representation of vanity or beauty. We're all beautiful in our own ways. So let's just put that aside for the moment. But let's acknowledge also the science behind the body and how it evolves. So as the body ages, specifically muscle mass and strength peaks between the ages of 20 to 30. This is based upon research collaboration with NASM and also has been validated by APA. I'm looking at the mind-body connection. So muscle mass and strength peaks between the ages of 20 to 30, and it marginally grows between the ages of 30 to 40. However, after the age of 40, our physical strength starts to decline in the human system by about 5% per year. This is assuming no exercise, no fitness, no movement. Okay. This is human nature taking its force. And then after the ages of 50, which is the club that I'm in now, we lose about 1 to 2% muscle mass per year and about 1.5 to 5% loss of physical strength. That's astounding. So as we age and gain wisdom and a life experience, our body starts to change and evolve. This is another reason why it's important not to judge your body, to honor your body. It's surviving, it's thriving. However, the mindful nutrition and mindful exercise that you can contribute to your body and your mind-body connection can help you counter stress, but also preserve your body. And one of the ways to do that best when it comes to exercise is resistance strength conditioning and training. And here's why. Strength training and conditioning counters the loss of muscle mass It helps sustain your body power, increases strength, and it counters stress impact on your mind and body as a whole. So lifting physical weights, working with weight machines, free weights, full body exercise, including a nice blend potentially of strength conditioning and cardiovascular workout is really good for your breathing system and for maintaining a strong body to counter stress. So that's the body so far. Let's flip to the most important organ of your body, which is the brain. The human brain develops from the time you're conceived all the way up until the age of 25 years of age. That's when the prefrontal cortex of the brain, the most rational function part of the brain, is fully developed by most science evidence from scanning. Okay. However, over our lifespan, the brain does change and adapt, and it can degenerate over time. So this is also why exercise is important. It's not just about the vanity of having a great physique and a lot of strength and mass, but exercise also helps rewire the mind and the brain. Okay. And by doing that, it helps strengthen the brain's ability to function and has a powerful impact on the central nervous system, which can create neuroplasticity, which is the rewiring of the brain to counter the degeneration that can happen as we're aging. And it can sharpen the brain's function in multiple ways. It can enhance the protein production in the hippocampus, which is primarily responsible for learning and memory. So enhancing learning and memory over time is really good. It can help reduce the stress overall in your mind, improving your mood regulation, and strengthening your endorphin hormones, which does a couple good things for you, right? Your endorphins being strengthened helps you deal with pain better, whether it's physical pain from injury, helping you maintain yourself under a stressful situation of pain. It also helps you with your mood regulation to counter the risk of mental disorders like anxiety and depression, which are the most prevalent mental disorders that we see today. And it also boosts the concentration and attentiveness overall for your mind, which is a stress resiliency factor. And let's add that exercise also helps to build mind-muscle connection and concentration. When you're contracting a muscle and you're relaxing the muscle, your mind and body is working in tune together. Perfect harmony and rhythm. So we see from this element of mindful exercise, it's valuable. There's evidence to show proof of that. So let's talk about the solutions. Again, I want you to be listening to this as specifically to your own needs. Here are the 5 solutions. Number 1, create a smart plan that's based upon your own human evidence and experience. SMART is an acronym that many of you've probably heard of before. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound is the acronym. But it's not just the SMART plan of putting something down on paper or putting something down on your computer and saying, I'm going to do this to start my exercise commitment in a mindful way. What I'm encouraging you to do is first to explore and be curious and experiment. So what that might look like for you is to first take a full month exploring, picking different days of the week, different times of the day to try some form of exercise that you're interested in. It could be simple as walking in your neighborhood. It could be a yoga class, maybe running or jogging, maybe strength conditioning, riding a bike, a variety of different exercise, movement activities, maybe even taking a dance class. Doing that multiple times throughout the month to find out, does that time of day or that day of the week work well for you from a work-life integration so that you can build some sustainability to keep it going as part of your journey. By doing that, then number 2, you can create a real plan based upon your own experience, your own unique experience. Create your own smart, mindful exercise regimen and plan to keep your body moving. Now, when you're moving, we need to know, how is it impacting your body, or you need to know that. So this is where I want you to take note again. If you have pen and paper handy, if you're not, you can play this back and listen to it again. mindful monitoring of your heart rate within your target heart rate zone while focusing on your breathing throughout the activity. So, how you measure that is this simple mathematical calculation. You take 220 and you subtract your age. That number gives you your max heart rate. That's the maximum your heart rate should be in exercise. And you can wear a biometric device like a watch or a band or a strap when you're running or wherever you use. Doesn't matter. You can pick, or you can check your pulse and measure it manually to check your heart rate to make sure that when you're doing your activity that you're trying to stay within your range, not at your max. So again, the max is 220 minus your age. Okay. You take that number and you multiply it by 0.76 to get the high end of your range. You take that same max number and you multiply it by 0.64 to get the low end of your range. That tells you your target heart range. So I'll give you an example. Let's say someone is 30 years of age right now. So 220 minus 30 equals 190 as their max heart rate. We take that max heart rate of 190, we multiply it by 0.76, we get rounded down to 144. So the high end of their target heart rate zone is 144. We take that same max number of 190, we multiply it by 0.64, we round it to 121. So for this 30-year age person, their target heart rate zone is between 144 on the high end to 121 on the low end. So if this person is riding a bike and they have on their biometric device on their wrist to measure their target heart rate, that person can determine, am I in a moderate enough rate of my heart rate that my body is really using this as a way to really strengthening my body's ability to cope with the activity, improving the cardiovascular level of that body, improving the body motion, and the breathing. This is key. While tracking the heart rate, the fourth is to monitor the breath as the anchor. And you'll notice if you watch any of my videos on the social cyber platform, when I'm demonstrating my mindful exercise and movement, I'm breathing in through my nose, gaining the energy from the biosphere, and you can see me breathing out of my mouth very naturally, the carbon dioxide. As I'm breathing out the carbon dioxide, I'm pushing the stress out of my body. Breathing in the positive energy from the biosphere through my nose, breathing out of my mouth, pushing the carbon dioxide out as my manifestation of that stress relieving from my body. That's what I want to encourage you to do. The breath is your anchor. It's not only connected to your thoughts, it's also a way for you to monitor how you're targeting your heart rate and how you're releasing the stress from your body. And then final solution, stretching. Stretch before to make sure your body is pliable before you do an activity, and stretch afterwards. Remember, we must honor our bodies. Our bodies are beautiful living organisms. They're not trophies. They're not for display. Yes, we want to look our best. We want to feel our best. But ultimately, when we are mindfully aware of how exercise and movement can help our bodies maintain muscle mass, build more power, gain more strength, be more functional, we have the ability to handle the stressors that come in our lives, and we build greater stress resiliency. All right. So we've covered two of the three: mindful exercise and movement solutions we just covered. You can apply today. So let's get to mindful meditation. Mindful meditation, based upon the American Psychological Association findings, provides us ways to reduce stress that can compromise our immune system and also exacerbate other health issues that may be in our lives from stress. Here's how mindful meditation works. And I'm talking specifically about mindfulness-based stress reduction meditation forms where you're really focusing on your breath as an anchor, or you're focusing on other anchors and you're really connecting with your mind-body awareness. Okay? So number one, Mindfulness meditation changes the brain structure and activity in the region of the brain where attention and emotional regulation takes place. This is the core of the limbic system, particularly the amygdala and the hippocampus, which is responsible for emotions, learning, and memory together. So as you mindfully meditate, you're training your brain to deal with stress. You're building your brain's muscle, your mind muscle. So when stress happens, it has a lower impact on your ability to sustain yourself and expand your window of tolerance. That's number one. Number two, it improves the mind's ability to handle negative automatic thoughts that are triggered by stressors in your life. Because as you practice mindful meditation, you become more conditioned to center your mind so that it's not mind or time traveling. What our minds like to do when we're under stress is ruminate about the past. Oh, this happened 100 times to me. Why is this happening to me again? I remember a time this happened. Or it gets focused on the future and starts to see the future, anxiety about what's going to happen. Mindfulness meditation requires you to pay attention in that moment as if your life depended on it, and to be aware and be patient and non-judgmental of yourself and just being human, being not human doing. All right. So, solutions. Here's what I recommend to you. Again, you can apply this today. Create multiple safe spaces for yourself to practice mindfulness meditation. This could be at your place of work. It could be in your home. It could even be in your nearby community, a local park, a beach, a foothill, at the end of a trail, where you can start to practice mindful meditation. Find places that create joy and serenity and tranquility for your soul, your mind, and your body. Honor yourself the space to be able to celebrate your mind-body connection through mindful meditation. This is essential to stress reduction and stress resiliency as part of the Mindful Triad. Number 2 solution step here. Practice mindfulness meditation based upon where you're at today. If you've never meditated before, you can start with the basic breathing exercise practice first. Breathing in through your nose up to 4 seconds, holding it for 2 seconds, and releasing up to 6 seconds from your mouth. Just getting in the practice of doing that a few times every day, maybe in the morning, maybe before you go to bed. Start there, start small. Then as you progress, start to do that up to 3 to 5 minutes in duration per session of practice. Building your mind-body awareness, rewiring your brain, that neuroplasticity, getting your brain conditioned to meditate. And then graduate yourself over time. Maybe join a meditation group with an experienced facilitator. Sometimes they're being conducted on the beach or in the park or even through cyber world, right? And there's also recorded mindfulness meditations that are guided that you can use from applications you have on your smartphone or your computer, to the point where you get up to 20 to 30 minutes per day as a normal part of your practice. That's what I'm encouraging you to do for yourself. And as you build that into a discipline for yourself, now you've completed all 3 elements of the mindful triad: mindful nutrition, mindful exercise and movement, and mindful meditation, to reduce the work-life stress in your life, to build a greater stress resiliency, and to really cultivate a sense of kindness and self-care that you deserve. So we've covered the 3 elements. Let's wrap up with some final thoughts here. Now that we've covered the relevant evidence-based information about each of these, take this mindful moment of awareness to acknowledge and celebrate the power of the brain and the amazing function of your body's full capability. And how, by practicing this, you can handle the work-life stress in your life to create more balance, to create more joy, and more endurance in handling your work-life integration as part of a full life. Find those safe spaces, find those kind folk that are your kinfolk to practice with, whether that be enjoying a meal together, nutritious meal, enjoying exercise and movement together, connecting, practicing meditation together within your community. And with all of that information today, as you're listening to this podcast episode, I want to thank you for investing the time to learn, to explore, to acknowledge that you're important enough that it's worthwhile to invest in yourself by incorporating the mindful triad and how you go about moving forward in living a full life in dealing with stress. With that, I welcome you to subscribe to this podcast on your preferred platform, or to subscribe in addition to our YouTube channel, MindSolve, so you can watch this if you want to watch it. And stay up to date on upcoming episodes that will be released from the MindSolve podcast. And if you've enjoyed this information and it's helpful, feel free to like it, subscribe, and share it with others you believe who can help. With that, be mindful and choose joy. Warm wishes from me, as always, Dr. Jonathan.